And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. With me, I have Richard Elfman with me. He ended up directing and writing this new film called Bloody Bridget. It's a great and original idea that he had. He also has his wife starring in this movie as well. And I'm just going to say, it's go on ahead, check it out. If you like original ideas, check out his film. But without further ado, let's go on ahead. Let's bring Richard over for this interview. It's a pleasure to have him here tonight. So let's do it. And hey,
Hey,
Richard.
how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
Doing good.
It's I just want to say this, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. I'm a huge fan of your work. I love your band that you had back in the 80s. And I just fell in love with the music. And also, your stuff is so atmospheric as well and stuff like that. It just transitions well into even to this decade. I just want to point
Well,
that out.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. But by the way, we're currently in a band called Mambo Diabolico.
Oh,
I'll send you a link after, but it's nine pieces, 5 octave opera singer. Anastasia plays cello and choreographs. I'm a percussionist. That's kind of been my lifelong musical thing.
that's awesome, man. Like, I love how creative you guys are as a team. You and Anastasia are both dynamic together. Like,
Yeah,
I
thank
love
you.
the support that you guys have for each other. I love the talent that you have. Not only do I love the talent that you guys have, but I also love the fact that you guys are so talented with the doing the band, and then you're doing this movie premiere stuff for Bloody Bridget. It's like you're keep on going, you
We're
know?
actually
Oh,
Bloody Bridget. We've been probably 30 film festivals, Canada to Brazil. We've won 20 festivals. Uh,
oh wow.
so we got a very, and right now we're talking to distributors. I'll fill in more after,
Okay,
but
that sounds great.
it's been a wild ride.
So my thing is this: when it came down to writing Bloody Bridget, what was your inspiration behind it?
Anastasia,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
one, her performances, and I kind of drew from her personality. But I'm an Afro Latin percussionist, and when you get into the music, you get into the culture, and you even get into like West African religions and folklore. And just like in Jamaica, they kind of have they worship Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia in the 20s and the 30s. Haile Selassie's name was Tafari, and Ross is king. That's where they got Rastafarian. So there's a similar, call it a appropriation going on in Haiti, where Baron Samedi, the voodoo god of life and death, top hat, cigar,
Right.
rum, women, his wife is a red-haired Irish woman named Brigitte, Saint Bridget, or the Celtic Brigitte. So anyway, Samadai hasn't seen his wife in 90 years and mistakes a red-haired burlesque dancer at a dive bar in Van Nuys for his wife. And he empowers her. I'm going to make you a Valentine vampire. Well, what's that? You shall see. Sucking blood only whets her appetite. She must eat their beating hearts. So, boy, do we give it to the bad guys.
Yeah, you guys do. Like, I like how the transition of Bridget is to start off with is like this. Okay, so basically, she's someone that people see as kind of weak in a sense and stuff like that, and doesn't really speak up. But as soon as that happens, as soon as that transition happens, she's like, I feel like that she needs that deal to happen more than anything to be able to speak her mind, to be able to speak and just stick up for herself.
We'll talk about
And
character motivation. First, she's fucked over by the club owner, then by her
mhm,
boyfriend, then by the cops, then by the prison matron, and then she tries to hang herself, but Baron Samedi steps in and takes her to the other world and empowers her and sends her back for vengeance.
and that's what I like. It's a revenge story, but it's also a horror movie all combined into one thing, which I think is just amazing that you ended up capturing all that into one little package at the very beginning of it, and you're sold instantly as soon as the movie starts out.
Well, thank you.
It's
Yeah, yeah. We've got a story. There's
right,
three-act story structure. Uh,
and
like crazy trappings, but story-wise, it's by the book. in terms of structure and character development. And I'm the son of a former English teacher who became an author, so I can bandy those terms around.
Exactly. But that's just something I have to say though. The way that you guys are pitching this and everything too is the fact this is an original story. This is something that's not rehashed. It's not something that you have 3 or 4 sequels to, and it just feels like the same carbon copy at all. It's an original story. It's organic. It's something new that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody ever thought maybe I should go ahead and play around with the African lore or anything like that and do this. And that's something that I thought that was really original and something I was sucked into was the lore of the story of this thing happening to Bridget. That's what I really
It's based on folklore.
right. And I'm a sucker for folklore, to be honest with you. That's what sold me right there is the folklore itself, and then the deal that happens with Bridget, and then you get into this. But how long did it take you guys to shoot the film? As
Uh, it's the fastest I've ever worked. I've had the same DP, Howard Wexler, for 25 years, and we think alike. So I had 2 cameras running. I shot it in 13 days.
oh wow,
But it was, I did like 21 days of work in half the time, kind of. But I had a very good cast. They were all pros. So everybody moved fast. And I keep a high energy. It's a fun set. And I cook for everybody. I barbecue at the end of every week. And at the end of week 2, then we put on a live show at the end of the day after the barbecue.
that's really cool though because I don't hear many directors doing that for their people that they work with or anything like that. It's pretty much okay. It's in the can. We're ready to go, and they all say their goodbyes. But I like the fact that you guys have like a unity together to where it's like a family and you put on a show for them and I'm gonna cook for you. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that
it's
about
very much a fact. Yeah. You hear all the grills going, cases of wine, cigars, and Ubers, of course.
it. Right, of course. But still, that's pretty neat. I really like that. Um the other thing I have to say is like just the special effects though. I really love the special effects. It's like a throwback to the 80s kind of way of actually making special effects.
Oh,
And yeah,
yeah. Well, it was kind of a hack uh, because I didn't have the time, but I saved a week. Okay, so here we've got like here Bridget's at a table. The victim's across the table. She dives across the table and bites the neck. Then we take the table to the green screen room, and they're still sitting at the table. But then when the audience sees it on the screen, they see the walls blow away into a fantasy world. And so I did 6 kills in one day, which would have been done on 6 different days, schlepping the special practical effects department location to location. And
right.
Anastasia, you wouldn't think so, this sweet young lady, but she's the daughter of former Marines and spent every weekend at Marine camp. And she's like a samurai. She doesn't complain. So we're talking like she's all wired up with gorilla tape with like tubes going up her arms, breaking her nails off, like ripping the heart out, then almost throwing up from like eating the shit from the heart, whatever. So then it's like rip the stuff off, rush her into a cold shower, bring her back, tape her up, action, next, for 14 hours. But
Oh,
I saved a week by doing it that way. And it works out perfectly because, you see them in bed and then you see the walls blow away in a
right.
fantasy world. But it was a hack at the same time.
Right, and I think that it makes sense to do the kills in that kind of way because I could just see Anastasia, really? Again, I have to go into work and do this again. But I like the fact too, it's like, okay, we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna shoot it and we're gonna get you ready for these other kills, and that way we can just go on ahead and do the things that we need to do. I definitely like that idea.
No,
And
she was like Rocky in round 14, cut my eye open, let me go back in. It was,
that's funny.
she was a fighter.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
That's that willpower right there.
yeah.
But I also like the fact that too is like when that dinner scene that you were talking about, it's like, you know what? We're in this world right here, but let me bring you to my world and let me wreck your world into two.
Yeah, we're
And that's
talking
what
like whole legs of lamb and 12-pound salmons, uh,
right.
big pieces of beef, and I've got a I'm a percussionist, so I can beat my own drum. I am a grill master. Uh, so, but nobody beats my barbecue.
That's funny. I need that needs to be a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But and my other thing too that I was just wondering about was like, okay, so in your early career, how did you manage the transition from music with the Mystic Knights to the bongo to filmmaking? How did
Well,
that happen?
it predates the Mystic Knights.
Hmm.
So I was like 19 years old in San Francisco, and I was playing in like this Afro percussion group, a little bit of jazz. We signed with Capitol Records. And then they had this monthly thing called the Nocturnal Dream Show that it was in this huge old, like a Chinese opera house. It seated 800 people. And it was a mostly drag show, but kind of sending up old musicals. And they played like my first exposure to Max Fleischer, Betty Boop cartoons, whatever. And so I ended up writing and directing stuff for them and even performing, although I'm the ugliest thing in drag you've ever seen. So I was like a drag death clown with a knife. So yeah, where I'd kill the piano player. Uh, so anyway, long story short, they were invited to a festival in Canada. Uh, the group couldn't go. I ended up going there. There was this scruffy French kind of street theater group called the Grand Magic Circus.
Hmm.
But there was something about them, a charisma, an elan, a spark. And so they needed a percussionist, Festival of New Theater. I said, give me 4 minutes to do my number, and then I'll play percussion in the show. So I did the number, with the thing and killed the piano player. That's all fine. I go to San Francisco. They go back to Paris. Peter Brook, legendary director of the Royal Shakespeare Company, picks up the group and gives them a big budget and a big theater. They sent for me. I'm 20 years old and I'm in a French theater company. Peter Brook, executive producer, the director, Jerome Savary, went on to become the director of the French National Theater. Danny gets out of high school, shows up at my front door in Paris. Our violinist was from the Paris Opera and he couldn't deviate a note from the score. The director liked to improvise. Danny could follow anybody. He gets the gig. That was his first music. So I did that for a couple of years. We toured Europe. We played all over. But it was kind of avant-garde musical theater. And that's where I formed the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, the idea for it in my head. I mean, on top of everything, Jerome
Right.
Savary, who I have the greatest respect for, who's my mentor, no longer with us, to put it mildly, drank a lot. So there was like drama on both sides of the proscenium. Uh,
I can imagine so.
but anyway, so then I came back here, started the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, which eventually evolved into Oingo Boingo.
That's cool. That's really interesting on how you started off in theater and then you go on ahead and transition to music, and then the idea for that just comes and just shape. You never know what life's gonna throw at you. It's like, you know what? I think I have this idea, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work. And what was the conversation like between you and Danny? Is like, what was the conversation like where you're like, I want to start up this band? I,
Well, no, I started. He went from France and he went and spent a year in Africa,
mhm,
working his way from the West Coast to the
mhm,
East Coast, like playing with indigenous peoples and getting robbed and a lot of adventure you could imagine. Uh,
right.
so I started the group. The musical director didn't work out. I got Danny back from Africa. He took over as the musical director when we were like maybe 6 months old. And by the way, uh, the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, I call it more commedia dell'arte. We had great music, but there was like theater as well. And it was impractical to tour and life was kind of bending us into an 8-person rock group. So I wanted to capture on film what I had been doing on stage, and I did my first film, Forbidden Zone, which is largely the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo stage show.
And that was my other thing too, with that being such a cult following. What was it like to film that and have your band in there at the same time? And was there like any kind of stress or anything like that going on with it? It's like I'm not sure if this is gonna how this is gonna turn out. I'm hoping that people will love it, but what was it like just trying to work on that and also trying to have your band in there at the same time?
Well, it was insane. It was shot in pieces over a couple of years, uh, and it was controversial. Banned on college campuses. I was in it's the New Beverly Theater, now owned by Quentin Tarantino, but I was there for a screening. Arson Squad was called in, and it disappeared after a summer of midnight shows, and we hadn't cleared all the music rights, and so it went off the market for 25 years. And during that time, it somehow was a bootleg favorite on college campuses, particularly the politically correct ones that banned it. Uh, and then I put up a website like maybe a dozen years ago, and I got hits from all over the world of Forbidden Zone fans. And I go, where the fuck did you come from? You know?
That's pretty amazing, though.
But anyway, there were some things that I didn't like about the original film that I wasn't able to change way back when. I went broke before it finished. So I actually swapped a few shots, colorized it, which is something I wanted to do originally. And now we've got the director's cut. I've had that the last few years. And so it's like, God, like 45 years later, I get the film that I wanted to do. But it's pretty amazing. We can go to almost any city and fill a theater in most countries.
That really is amazing. It just goes to show, like, you never know what you're working on and how much it means to somebody until something actually happens, right? Because
Yeah, we've been going to like festivals in Mexico, and there was one up in God, it was Michoacan. Is kind of like a dangerous area, and you go through like police checkpoints and stuff. And we're in this little town, and they've got the National Guard there because the governor was going to come watch the show or whatever. We're screening Forbidden Zone, and guys in the guard were Forbidden Zone fans, and it was never released in Latin America. Same thing in Brazil. We took Bloody Bridget to Brazil, but they screened Forbidden Zone also.
how did that go as a double feature? I'm just kind of curious. Like, what was the reaction between the Forbidden Zone and Bloody Bridget? What was that like?
Well, they're very different, but you know, the fans ate it up, and we had fun. And
That's
Anna
awesome.
performed. We do a live pre-show. She does this bloody burlesque where she rips someone's heart out, and I, when feasible, put local musicians together and we play.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But
So
my other thing is though too, your films have a distinct surreal style, and I was just curious like this. I've been wondering about this for a while, but how do you go about maintaining that balance between the bizarre and the engaging for the audience?
in a nutshell, as crazy as the ideas and the characters and the dialogue are, uh, underlying it is a story structure. Three
I can imagine.
acts, turning, you follow it. So there's a spine story structure. You know, but the trappings are crazy
Right.
and original, and the characters are, you know, but there's still, you know, the way events transpire and the way the acts lead into the other is classic story structure.
Definitely. And the style and the structure in itself, your characters are very relatable. I think anyone can relate to Bridget and any of the other characters that are in this, or they might know somebody that's like some of the characters in the movie and stuff like that too. It's like, you know what? I know someone that's like a douchebag that was banging someone else's friend or something like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
really? Wait, you mean on planet Earth there are people like that?
yeah,
I thought.
but You know what I mean? It's like the relatability of it all. You know what I mean? It's like, but that's one thing I have to say. Some movies are not relatable to the point where they're like, well, I think I know this person and this character, or I know this person and another character. Because sometimes they try to make something that's so complex to the point where it's not really, they try to make it more complex than than anything else. And the simplicity of what you're doing is fantastic. It's easy to follow along with, and also too, the rewatchability is really good for this film too.
Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And my other thing is too with your creative process. Can you walk us through your creative process of with developing just different story ideas and stuff like that?
Well, I have two very important writing tools: uh, scotch and cigars. And I have a little garret on our roof deck under the Hollywood sign overlooking the Hollywood Hills. And it, it takes me 3 weeks to write a screenplay. And
Oh,
yeah, I'll usually play some music to start. I'll have the germ of an idea and I just bang it out. I've been writing for so long. I've had a gig the last year writing and developing animation series for television. Uh,
okay.
and I've been writing a different show every month. I've written 12 shows now, and two of them are going into production next year.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you on that.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, hell, I've been writing for 50 years. You know, it comes easy. I don't have to do outlines anymore.
That's always a good thing though, right? Because of then you end up with like 6 or 7 different drafts to something that may or may not work. And now you've done this for so long, it's just programmed inside of you. It's like, okay, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to structure this thing. I want to know what layers I have for these characters, opposed to doing different drafts. So I totally get it.
Yeah. For my process, usually after the third scotch and second or third cigar, I bang out the rough draft, and my structure's there. And then it's just polishing, refining voices. Uh, this guy walked out of this door, but he should have walked out of that door. You know, it's polish, but the structure comes very quickly.
Right.
Didn't originally, but it does now.
I gotcha. And another thing too is like I know this film was indie based and as well. And I know it's challenging to try and do a project with trying to put something out there, and you have to fund it. Was that a challenge for you to actually try to fund something they
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
your own?
A salmon swimming upstream has it easier than a indie film director. Our previous film, Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks, there was like a year and a half of meetings and on and off and on and off and on and off. And then there was a distributor, and they put up like some guarantee. They went out of business. We're out of money halfway shooting. We had to raise and borrow more, and it was just a giant mess. And then I just said like fuck it. You know, we upped our credit card limits and some stuff like that, and we just like gathered friends and actors and shot the damn thing. Yeah, and it's we're not out of the hole either. It's sacrifices involved.
Right.
But to anyone who wants to direct, be prepared to sacrifice and have tenacity and get ready to be knocked down 9 times and get up on number 10 and do it. You need tenacity.
Exactly. You need that resilience of like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go ahead, do what I gotta do, and try to put this thing out there. Yes, I might have to sacrifice some other part of my funds or whatever to get this thing on the ground, but in the end, I know that people are going to love the art that I'm trying to do and try to get it to the audience that I know.
Well, hopefully, like Forbidden Zone, there was a 30-year gap, so you never know.
Right, exactly. Because who knows? Maybe another film will come up on college campus, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like what the fuck? But the thing that I have to say, this is something else I want to know too. So, where do you see the future of independent filmmaking going? How do you feel about the impact of streaming platforms and on creative freedom?
It's very much a help. I mean, the first big help was going digital as opposed to 35 all up. My last two films were shot digitally. Before that, were all 35 millimeter. A huge difference because it's so much. God, we got these Black Magic cameras. They don't cost a lot. I shot with two cameras. That's another thing I advise independent filmmakers is it's not that much more to get a second camera. And so while you're shooting your master, you're getting coverage and it's moving faster. So that made a difference. And then, we have friends that do special effects. God, with my brother Danny and our bandmate Ego Plum, you know who Danny Elfman is, but Ego Plum,
Yes.
Ernesto Guerrero,
Oh.
He's the #1 cartoon composer in Hollywood. He just did a feature for Warner's, Aztec Batman. So between Danny and Ego, we got $1 million score on our little movie.
That's awesome though. But
Yeah.
Danny's always, I remember on a school bus just doing like this, like I'm composing with Danny on the school bus and everything, and just eating up the Men in Black soundtrack and the scoring for that, and then Beetlejuice and all that stuff. And me just falling. And here's the thing: I fell in love with scoring because of Danny and because of what you guys are doing as well. So I want to point that out there too.
Well, go for it. Go for it.
This is also something from Daniel, though. He says, I love to hear Richard talk about his projects. Damn.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, pretty much, damn the torpedoes. And if anyone gets in trouble, you blame it on Elfman.
But which Elfman, though? I can see everybody like on the set.
It was I was at a crowded bar with a bunch of friends, and the bartender didn't speak English well. I think he was from Japan, and he wouldn't take my money. And then I realized that he thought I was Danny, and I signed Danny's autograph, but I only did that once.
Danny, I'm sorry that happened. That's too funny, though. I love sibling rivalry, to be honest with you.
No. Danny's very.
Love it.
Our family gets along really well. I'm blessed with my family, and
that's awesome.
I see Danny almost every Sunday.
That's awesome, though. I love the fact that you guys actually have like Sunday dinners. That's like something that doesn't happen in today's time, where it's like, you know what? I want to get the family together. I want to spend time with my brother or my sister and just have a family get together. We don't see that in today's time.
And he has this great spread in Santa Barbara. It's like 7 acres with like streams and a little lake and stuff like that. And so every 2-3 months, the extended family goes there, and I cook for 2 or 3 days.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
My other thing is though too. Okay, can you tell us about any other upcoming projects that you're excited about? How do they differ from your earlier works and compared to how Bloody Bridget is as well?
Well, I've got these animated series, and I've written 12, and each one is different than the others. The Goon Platoon, Rufus and Doofus, the Goon Squad from Planet 9, the Mighty Geezers. So they're all those are exciting. And then I've got Forbidden Zone 2, which is kind of my bucket list film. I've come very close to making that a few times, but I want to do it right. And then I'm writing Bloody Bridget 2.
Okay, that was my other thing, was like, is there going to be a Bloody Bridget 2? Because I think that it could lead into a bigger project.
Well, let's just say, without giving too much away on Bloody Bridget 1, let's just say that it leads us into a threesome with Baron Samadai, Bridget, and Peppy, who's gay.
That's
so it's
pretty interesting.
And it's too much fun. And the devil is down below on his computer, and he gets jealous, and he bursts in for a very painful foursome. And so, like, he curses Bridget that she's going to have to go get these ancient documents from Ireland that are kept by the leprechauns. And so both of her lawyers, Daniel Dershowitz and Daniel Dershowitz Jr., are little people with yarmulkes. So they have to go to Ireland and infiltrate the leprechauns. Dad, put the hat on. I'm telling you, put the hat on.
I love that idea, the lore now of the leprechauns now that you're bringing into this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm
Well,
gonna be stuffing popcorn in my face and just smiling the whole time while I'm watching this now.
yeah, yeah. So, but
But
anyway, so it's very poignant. Little Jewish lawyers having to go infiltrate the leprechauns. It's
I like that.
very serious. Yes.
So Daniel Larson says, question for Richard. I've recently bought the Forbidden Zone director's cut. Will there be a possible to purchase Bloody Bridget as well? He's from Norway.
Uh, we're just okay. When the film first came out, showed it to distributors, they didn't get it. Now we've won 20 film festivals, and now there's some interest. So we're just talking with distributors right now. But
Okay.
yes, there will, but not probably beginning of the year.
Okay. Let's see. Forbidden Zone 2 is
Well, that's my
uh
bucket list film. That's Danny's written music, the art's done, the script's done, it's ready to go. We just, God, 3 times we've come close. It's just a matter of having enough money to do it right.
right.
I don't. There's certain corners I don't want to cut, but that's my bucket list film, Forbidden Zone 2.
Okay. And let's see. Leprechaun fight. That's what Spun Timer says. And then we also have JG. He says that sounds hilarious with the leprechaun fight. Uh but yeah, I love the originality with the whole leprechaun thing. I think that's actually pretty cool. I would love to see that fight go on. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Our little little Jewish lawyers infiltrating the leprechauns. We'll
You
see
know
if
what?
if there's a culture clash.
Right? But you know what else would be even funnier though too? Like have like little Satans or whatever with the leprechauns. Is like they're like the people that actually control everything. And they're like, hey, you're in big trouble or kind of that kind of thing or something. That would actually be pretty funny though too, I think, or something
Well,
like that.
maybe Bloody Bridget 3.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. But you know, I just think that what you're doing is fantastic for indie filmmakers and giving advice to indie filmmakers because I love indie projects. I think that indie directors are highly underrated and not appreciated enough, to be honest with you. And that's why I love doing the short film festivals like I do and things like that, so I can show appreciation towards indie filmmakers.
Very
I
cool.
think
Very cool.
thank you because I have nothing but respect for you and what you and your wife are doing because it's hard to do that. It's hard to actually get a film off the ground and get someone to fully believe in something that you're doing and try to get them sold on a project. And then, then you have like, okay, well, Warner Brothers said no. This other studio said no. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna come up with my whole entire studio myself and do the damn thing myself and distribute it. And maybe knock on wood, maybe somebody might see the same thing I have, and maybe I can get another indie studio to be involved as
Yeah,
well.
and right now, I mean, there's so many film festivals, so
Mhm.
many genre festivals. If you don't get into one, you'll get into 3 others. Uh, so it's just there's a lot of opportunity there.
More definitely. And there's actually one other thing I wanted to talk about was like if you were to give advice for any kind of project that you're doing, would you tell them what would you tell them to do first? Would you tell them to do like short films or would you tell them to do a long production type film?
I don't know. I mean, everybody's path is different. Uh, Read classic literature, you get a sense of story structure. Watch classic films, which
Mhm.
a lot of I have to say, like I run into young actors that have never seen the classics. So immerse yourself in classic literature, immerse yourself in classic films. So you've got a standard, however crazy you want to be, but you've got a standard.
Exactly. Let's see. JG's asked, any future plans for more books? I really enjoyed the Chelamezzo.
Shalom of Sabrium. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I've got 2 more novels coming. A trio, kind of 3 old carny hustlers that kind of like a parable on power gone awry when they get together, and the other one, Dream Girl, uh, a cult kind of a coven that takes over your imagination during sex and turns your wildest fantasies into deadly nightmares.
That's too.
Watch
That's
out! Watch out! Watch out!
and you thought that It Follows was actually something that was new and fresh. Wait until you see this one
Yeah,
or
yeah.
read.
So actually, those books are. I just have to. They're semi-finished. I just haven't had the time. This animation gig has kicked my ass, along with touring 30 cities and playing with the band
I can
and
imagine, man.
barbecuing and driving my
See,
daughter to school when my wife and I take turns.
I don't blame you. I would take turns too. Like I'd be like, I'm just tired from the day-to-day activities that I've been doing. I need you to take this one. Okay, not a problem. I got this. You know, you just go ahead and rest. I like that. Um, how you
By
guys?
the way, Anastasia is doing, for all of you in the Los Angeles area, she's a huge fan of classic horror, pre-code horror. She's doing a thing in conjunction with the Lon Chaney Senior family. Uh, it's the 99th anniversary of Phantom of the Opera, and she's going to create this dark burlesque thing beforehand. The Hodorowski family, for the 40th anniversary of Santa Sangre, had her come to Mexico City and create an event. So she's got a little history, working with these great film families.
That's pretty cool because I
Yeah,
grew up on the Lon Chaney black and white movies and stuff like that. That my mom would always show me and stuff. I grew up on all that stuff.
yeah, it's Anna's like an expert at all this pre-code. She's been doing 3-4 podcasts a week, and she's starting her own podcast, Bloody Bridget's Horror Chat.
Oh,
The first
nice.
one will be up in about a month. We're just getting some of the artwork done.
I can't wait to check that out. I'll definitely subscribe to it and listen to it because I'm a huge Lon Chaney fan and I love the black and white.
There's
Black and
Anastasia.
white.
I want her to hear that. Yeah, she's a Lon Chaney fanatic.
I
Uh,
love it.
yeah, so we're just getting our 16-year-old daughter into these black and white Lon Chaney classics.
That's the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it because I grew up on Abbott Costello. I grew up on Lon Chaney movies. I also grew up on like the old Dracula, Wolfman, and all that other stuff too. So yeah, I'm geeked out. I'm excited. That's actually something that I would definitely be talking to her about whenever I have her on the show. On the coming up as well. So I can't wait.
Well,
Um,
it'll AnastasiaElfman.com is coming soon, and right now there's RichardElfman.com. And by the way, anybody who's seen Bloody Bridget at a festival, go ahead and give it some votes on IMDb.
I'm definitely going to go on ahead and write out a review. If it's on Letterbox, I'll go on ahead and help out with Letterbox as well. I'll hop over
Oh,
there.
super appreciated, very
Not a
appreciated.
problem. Let's see here. Daniel Larson says, I generally love Mr. Elfman's genius writing and directing. The Forbidden Zone is my all-time favorite movie, and Richard and Danny got me to check out Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, on Anastasia's birthday, we actually went. Well, first, her birthday is the same day as Lon Chaney Sr., April 1st. But then we also visit Peter Lorre's resting place at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is the coolest cemetery if you're in LA, with all
Okay.
these old stars there.
I'm just wondering, that's not going to be the same. I don't think that's the same cemetery like Night of the Living Dead was shot, or
No, no.
no. Okay, different cemetery then. Okay,
You see a lot of goth kids wandering around, but they're not zombies. I
okay.
think. I think.
Depending on how you look at it, if they're texting the whole time and just walking, they might be
Yeah.
zombies a little bit. But I just love having conversation with you. I think this is just great. Um, But I do have to say your creative process is just amazing. I love your work. I'm definitely gonna go on ahead, check out your I'm definitely gonna go on ahead and review what this movie on Letterbox right after the show. I'll give that a review. I'll go to IMDb, give it any kind of support I can for this film. because I believe that you have a home run here with everything you're doing. Especially look at all the look at all the festivals that you guys are doing. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
amazing.
it's been incredible, the reception, and exhausting. We've had some weekends where we've done not just 2, but 3 cities back to back, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each with a show. But it's fun. It's invigorating. It
That's
keeps the
awesome.
rust off.
But yeah, I think that's everything that I had wanted to cover with you. But is there anything else that you wanted to actually talk about as far as anything that you want to actually promote or anything like that?
Emote. Hey, thank you for having me. This has been fun. You're super cool,
You're
man.
welcome. Thank
And
you.
thank you again for having me.
You're welcome anytime. It's a pleasure, Richard. Please come back again because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot more stuff that I would love to talk, chat with you about, and just be able to just geek out with you about with certain things.
Love,
Um,
love
y-
geeking out.
yes. And JG says, "Huge congratulations on all the wins." And then you're the man, Richard.
You're so kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. This was so interesting. Then thank you, Richard, for sharing. I look forward to seeing Bloody Bridget in Norway.
And
And
I wouldn't mind seeing Richard Elfman in Norway too. Good night, everyone.
good night, everyone. You guys have a great and safe night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys from the comment sections. Thank you, everyone that's checking this out. Thank you as well, Richard, for joining me, taking the time out of your night to talk about Bloody Bridget. And always until next time, guys, have a great and safe night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.